Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy. Welcome to The Last Lap. In today's video we're going to be talking just a little bit about the Clash, but we're going to mainly focus on our Daytona 500 predictions. We're going to talk about whoever's on the pole, who's going to make it into the Daytona 500, who's going to be going home, and obviously the winner of the race. So make sure you guys stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me as always, and how does it feel to be finally Daytona 500 week? The official start of the NASCAR season is upon us.
Well, let me start with one thing real quick. The king of the Xfinity Series is back. How about that, Rowdy Nation? Welcome to your worst nightmare. The undisputed GOAT of the Xfinity Series is officially back for Kaulig Racing. Can you believe it? I mean, he's actually going to expand that record. Are you kidding me? So, whew, man, you better get ready for some more race versions in the background right here of calling race cars. That'll be at first.
Somebody seems a little bit too excited for his driver to win Xfinity Series
Last
trophies.
time I
I'm
checked,
just going to leave it at
wait,
that. I'm not going to
wait, wait,
roast
wait,
you. I could
where'd your
really
driver
bad,
go
but
last year at Xfinity? Oh wait, he DQ'd. Are you wait what? He DQ'd in an Xfinity race? Come on, man.
that is thanks to rain and
Guess
owner's
what? It's
points
still
and all of that
DQ.
stuff. So that does not count. Anyways, to show you guys something else really quick, I did get my Chase Elliott Nashville win in the mail not too long ago, so you guys can look at that real quick. I love the purple confetti on it, so great to have that added to the collection. Got a few more to go for 2022, but let's go ahead and talk about the Clash really quick. We didn't do a review video, so we'll just quickly talk about it. Martin Truex Jr., he ended up getting the win. I think he had the best car all weekend long, from practice, qualifying, the heat races, the actual race. I think he had the best car, so good to see him get the win, especially after last season with no wins, just a few top fives and top tens. Great to see him get the win. Hopefully that can spark some momentum for him for this season. There were several rivalries created and recreated. The one that was created was Bubba Wallace and Austin Dillon. They were racing each other pretty hard on those final few restarts, giving each other several bumps to each other, and Bubba eventually got the worst of it. Austin Dillon sent him around. Bubba was not too happy with him after the race. Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin, they got into it once again. Ross spun Denny out off of turn 2. And then Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, that rivalry was reignited as well. Joey Logano drove it into turn 3 a little bit too deep, spun Kyle Busch around. Kyle Busch has some choice words for Joey Logano after the race and on SiriusXM the next day, calling Joey Logano two-faced. So that was very interesting there. So it'll be very interesting to see if any of these drivers remember what happened at the Clash or not, because honestly, it was a wreck fest in general. And like, if you drove into the corner and bumped the person in front of you, they would bump the person in front of them, bump the person in front of them, and then that person would go around like 4 cars ahead of what actually happened. So drivers didn't even know who to really be mad at, because it was just a chain reaction. If one person bumped the other, it would just continue down the line until somebody eventually got spun out. So there were 16 cautions in this race compared to, I think it was like 5 or 6 last year. There were 5 in the first half of the race, and that means there were 11 cautions in the final 70, or the final stage, I guess you could call it, the final half of the race. So quite a lot of cautions. There's been a lot of speculation. So Auto Club is not going to be back on the schedule next year because it'll be reconfigured to a short track. So everybody's like, oh, should the Clash become a points race? No, no, it should not become a points race. If it was this crazy with, I don't know, 26 cars on the track or something like that, imagine 36 cars on the racetrack. Like, there's just no way. Like, this should not be a points race. Leave it an exhibition race. It does not need to be a points race. They could figure something else out. Hopefully they can figure another track out to go to fill in for Auto Club next year, but not the LA Coliseum. No, it's not going to happen. Shouldn't happen. In Dale Jr.'s words, it's not a real racetrack. It doesn't even have a real pit road. So, no, please don't make this a points race next year. It's just too crazy, too small of a track. Don't do it. But what can be done to make the Clash better next year? I think the first thing is to adjust the length of the race, make it maybe make the race a little bit longer, but have caution laps count because that second half really dragged on because only green flag laps counted, so they would make it 2 laps and then there would be a caution. It would take them 5 minutes to get the field set up again and then go green again and then another caution right after that. So I would say make the race longer, but count the caution laps. I think that'll even it out. What else can be done? I think the field size needs to be adjusted. 26 or however many cars were in this race, it should not be that many cars. It should be whoever comes out to the Clash participates in it. It used to be pole winners, so it'll be like 12, 16, whatever cars. I think that's a perfect size. I don't know if it should go back to pole winners, maybe just the playoff drivers, or I don't know. But there should not be 26 cars out there for the Clash. It should be 16 max. So the number of playoff drivers, that should be the max number of drivers in the Clash, in my opinion. So that's another thing I think they could do to make it better in the future. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head as far as improving it goes. I think it was a good event overall. They had, I forgot who performed before the show. I know the song, I just can't think of the artist. And Wiz Khalifa, he performed at halftime. So from everybody that was at the track, it seemed like it was a good atmosphere, a good event overall. So very glad to see that. Everybody was complaining about the size of the crowd, but like apparently LA people, when they show up to a sporting event, they don't show up until right when it starts or halftime or something like that. So as the race went along, the crowd started to show up and it looked a lot more full. Not as much as last year, but I think it was still a good showing overall. So very excited to see what the Clash holds for us in the future. I hope it goes back there again. I just hope that they reduce the field size. That's pretty much my main critique of it. So, Matthew, what do you have to quickly say about the Clash before we talk about the Daytona 500 predictions?
Oh, I thought it was a great race, a great event, and congratulations to Martin Truex Jr. I know last year was definitely not a good year at all for him, and he deserves this. He deserves, to win this race. So I I'm happy for him. I'm happy for RCR, second and third, right in the podium. That's a great start for that organization, especially when both cars finished top three. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come, but hopefully that wasn't a fluke. So we'll see. Um, I mean, I love the race. And man, when Wiz Khalifa showed up, I was vibing right there, man. It was a party in my place when he showed up. It seemed like right after that party ended, it began a big old wreck fest. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great race. I hope to see it. As for a points race, definitely not. But as for the Clash or an All Star race at another stadium, of course, I think I'll be just fine. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, my quick thoughts.
All right, so now we're going to talk Daytona 500 predictions. I'm going to pull up the list real quick of open drivers because I don't remember them off the top of my head. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Shout out Bob Pockris. So there'll be 42 cars entered in the Daytona 500 this year. 4 will be able to race out of the 6 open cars. Those open cars are Chandler Smith in the 13, Zane Smith in the 36, Connor Daly in the 50, Austin Hill in the 62, Travis Pastrana in the 67, and Jimmy Johnson in the 84 car. Those are the open cars. And just in case you guys don't know how it works, Daytona is very special compared to a normal race weekend. On Wednesday night, there'll be single car qualifying. That'll set the field for the 36 charter cars, which means if they show up, as long as they show up to the race, they're in the race. And then there'll be 6 open cars that have to qualify or race their way into the Daytona 500. On Wednesday night, we will know 2 of those drivers. They'll be qualified based on their qualifying time, and then we'll find out the other 2 drivers who will make the Daytona 500 based on their finish in the dual races, which are on Thursday night. So 2 drivers will be qualified on Wednesday night, 2 drivers will make it on Thursday night, and 2 drivers will be sent home. So before we get to the duels and who will be in and out, I'm going to talk about my poll prediction really quick. And there's been like a trend with the polls. It's always like, a big headline driver wins the pole. So like Jeff Gordon won it in his final Daytona 500. Chase Elliott won it in his first Daytona 500. Danica Patrick won the pole in her first Daytona 500. So for this year, I feel like
Austin Dillon, 2014, of the first time, and then the number three car. He
yeah,
also won the
that's
pole in that one.
there's a ton of other stories where it's aligned for the pole winner. So Kyle Busch is going to be my pole winner prediction with his first season
Hmm.
at RCR. So
Huh.
that's going to be my pole prediction. You're welcome, Matthew. So Kyle Busch, that's going to be my pole prediction. As for the open cars, who is going to make it into the field? I'm going to do my two that make it in on time, and then I'm going to do my two that will qualify their way in based on the duels. So this is tough. But I feel like Jimmy Johnson, he's going to qualify in on time. He is with Petty GMS, a pretty established Cup team. So I feel like he'll be able to qualify his way in out of those 6 cars. And, oh man, I don't know. I know who I want to say, but screw it. Travis Pastrana. I think he's going to qualify in on time as well on Wednesday night. So those are 2 drivers I think will make their way into the Daytona 500 Wednesday night. On Thursday night, in the duels. Gosh, this also is very, very tough. Austin Hill, Connor Daly, Zane Smith, Chandler Smith. All 4 could easily make their way in. Um, Gosh, I'm going to say Austin Hill. He's going to race his way in because he's a pretty good super speedway racer. And, oh man, this is tough. I think I'm going to have to say. I think. Oh, this is so tough. I'm going to go Zane Smith. I'm just going to say Zane Smith. So, those are the 2 drivers I think they're going to race their way in. So, Chandler Smith and Connor Daly, I think they're going to go home. I think Zane Smith, Austin Hill, Travis Pastrana, Jimmy Johnson make the Daytona 500. And my Daytona 500 winner, I kind of said it in our season predictions video a few weeks ago. Ryan Blaney. He's going to be my Daytona 500 pick to win the race. He has been up at the front several times, including last year. He was so close to beating his teammate Austin Cindric. I think Ryan Blaney is due, so I think he's going to be the Daytona 500 winner. Trying to think anything else. I don't think so. So, Matthew, go ahead and tell everybody some of your predictions for the Daytona 500.
So, who I think is going to win the pole for this year? For this year's Daytona 500? Let's see. It's an interesting one. I'm gonna say Alex Bowman because it seems like almost every year he's always qualifying in the front row, and I don't know, there's just something up with that 48 car that they set it up well in qualifying. So I'm going to go with Alex Bowman as the pole sitter. Now, as for the 4 that are going to make it in the race, I'm just going to jump in who's going to make it. I'm going to say Jimmy Johnson, Travis Pastrana, Zane Smith, and then Chandler Smith. So I think Austin Hill and Connor Daly are going home. And here's my reason why. This year's open cars are just way more stacked than they were last year. There's way more competitive teams that are fielding, either a third car, second car, whatever. Well, actually, it's just 3 cars, but I just think they have a way better advantage than Austin Hill, who's with Beard Motorsports, who only has one full-time employee. Keep in mind, and Connor Daly, the money team, which is still a fairly young team that it's not really that fast. So yeah, I think those 2 smaller teams are at a big disadvantage this year. So that's gonna be my 4. And as for my winner, I did say this in the prediction video. I think also Cindric is going to go back to back this year in the Daytona 500 because those Penske cars are always strong, and also Cindric last year was very strong. So I think they're going to bring that same recipe that they had last year, and I think they're going to go back to back.
That is a very bold prediction for the winner, Austin Cindric, going back to back. That is Matthew's prediction. I think you're just going to have to watch the Fords in general because they always find a way to the front of the field in a Daytona 500 or any super speedway race. Matter of fact, and they're always up there late in the going. I remember what I was gonna say. Our fantasy will be back this season the same way we did it last year on the fantasy app. I believe you can open it as early as tomorrow, which is February 14th. So maybe we'll leave a link in the description for you guys if you guys want to join the fantasy league. The more the merrier, in my opinion. It'll be a lot more fun. So that opens up. We'll be doing that again, and we'll have more people start at the same time, so it'll be more competitive this year. Very excited for that. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the video. Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and finish up?
Actually, I do. So I'm sure you. If speaking of Zane Smith, he apparently he's going to be running part time in the Cup Series, but not in the 36 car, but in the 38 car, which means Todd Gilliland will be part time. And look, this drives me nuts. Look, don't get me wrong. I like Zane Smith. He's, I think, an amazing talent. And I think he will be in the Cup Series one day. But here's the thing. It's not about who's better, Todd Gilliland or Zane Smith. It's about Front Row Motorsports. They have an identity problem. They have a problem in general because this is the fifth time that the 38 car, their driver only lasted one season full time. John Hunter Nemechek was the first one. Anthony Alfredo was the first one. And now Todd Gilliland, who's going to be only in that car part time. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, what do these fools at Front Row Motorsports expect when you've rushed up Todd Gilliland from the Truck Series, who literally only had 2 truck wins in 4 seasons, never did an Xfinity race, went straight up the Cup? What'd you expect him to be like? He's not going to be a championship contender. So I don't get the reasoning behind it. I just think it's pure. It's just ridiculous. So I feel so bad for Todd Gilliland. You and I actually met him at Martinsville last year. He's a really cool guy. I think he does have talent because he was able to win the Truck Series. He also won last year in trucks at Knoxville dirt. So, and plus he did finish in the top 5 at the Indy Road Course in that 38 car, which was amazing in my opinion. So I feel so bad for Todd Gilliland, but I am happy for Zane Smith. I just think the Front Row Motorsports is just an absolute mess.
Yeah, I mean, so my quick opinion on this is if you're gonna have two cars that you're gonna run all the races for, let it be two full time drivers. Like if you want to run um, Zane Smith in a few races, put a third car in there for 5 races. Like don't have Zane Smith or don't have oh my gosh, all the names are flying in through my head. Don't have Todd Gilliland run like 30 races and then Zane Smith run like 5. Like, like you might as well have the guy that's doing part time for 5 races just field another car for him instead of have him take away from the opportunity for Todd Gilliland to compete for points and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't really get that either. Like any driver who makes their way to the Cup Series, it's going to take them a few years to get used to everything. We saw it with the great drivers of today. Chase Elliott, it took him a few years. Ryan Blaney took him a few years. So, I don't understand it either. But I hope that Todd Gilliland does well, and I guess I hope that Zane Smith does well in his few starts that he gets this year as well. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for tuning in. The first race of the season is here, so content is going to be flowing your way all throughout the NASCAR season. We hope you guys are ready for it. But until the next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.